Hello, my students of class 9. Today we are going to continue our third lesson, which is the little girl. This is the part 2 of this explanation. Shall we start? Alright. Now, as we have discussed earlier also in our previous videos, I have told you that this particular story is written by Catherine Mansfield. Let's start reading now. She sat on a stool, gravely watched him until he woke and stretched, and asked the time, then looked at her. Don't stare so, Kezia. You look like a brown owl. So, as we have understood in the previous explanation, that Kezia's grandmother has now forcefully sent Kezia to her parents because it's Sunday and her parents are at home. Her father is at home. She has told her, "Ki go and sit with your parents." Now Kezia has gone. She is seeing that her father is sleeping, and when he woke up, he saw that Kezia is staring at him, and he asked, "What is the time?" And he's saying, don't stare so, Kezia. You look like a brown owl." Okay. One day, when she kept indoors with a cold, her grandmother told her that father's birthday was next week, and suggested she should make him a pincushion for a gift out of a beautiful piece of yellow silk. Now, one day Kezia was having cold and she did not go out to play. She was with her grandmother. So her grandmother told her that soon your father's birthday is going to be there. So let's give him a surprise and make a pin cushion for him, and I have a very beautiful piece of yellow silk. Let's make a pin cushion out of it. Okay. Laboriously with the double cotton, the little girl stitched three sides, but what to fill it with? That was the question. The grandmother was out in the garden, and she wandered into mother's bedroom to look for scraps. Now, very with a lot of hard work, Kezia has now made the pincushion. Now everything is done. She has stitched three sides. Now, before stitching the fourth side, she has to stuff something inside it. Now she's thinking, what do I stuff in it? She cannot see her grandmother around because her grandmother's in the garden, and now she goes into looking into her mother's room. Now, what happens? Let's understand. On the bed table, she discovered so many sheets of fine paper, gathered them up, tore them into pieces, and stuffed her case, then sewed up the fourth side. Now she goes into her mother's room and she sees that there are a lot of good quality papers kept there. So what does she do? She takes those papers, she tears them into pieces, and she puts it in the pin cushion, and she sews the fourth side also. That night, there was a hue and cry in the house. Father's great speech for the Port Authority has been lost. Rooms were searched, servants questioned. Mother came into Kezia's room and questioned. Kezia, I suppose you didn't see some papers on the table in our room. Now everybody is in the house. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of trouble. Everybody is tensed in the house. They are searching for some speech that Kezia's father has written for his port authority. It is nowhere to be found. Now, after all this questioning and everything, servants and everything, everyone is being questioned. And at the end, mother asks Kezia that, have you seen those papers? Oh yes, she said. I tore them up for my surprise. Now Kezia tells the truth that she has taken the papers and she has torn them. What? Screamed mother. Come straight down to the dining room this instant. Now her mother is very angry because Kezia has done something really wrong now. She tells her that come down right now, and she was dragged down to where father was, pacing to and fro, and hands behind his back. Well, he said sharply. Mother explained. He stopped and stared at the child. Did you do that? No, 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 she whispered. So now Kezia is in a lot of trouble and she has been forcefully taken down, and now her father is questioning her that, have you done it? Now Kezia is refusing it, that she has not done it. Mother, go up to her room and fetch down the damn thing. See that the child's put to bed this instant. So now Kizia's father is telling her grandmother that please go and bring the damn thing. What is the damn thing? The damn thing is the pin cushion. He's saying go and bring the pin cushion so that at least I can see whatever is left, if I can put it back together and if I can use it somehow. So, and he's saying just take her to bed this instance, otherwise, because he's really upset with Kezia and he doesn't want to see her anymore. All right, let's see what's in this next page. Trying too much to explain, she lay in the shadowed room, watching the evening light make a sad little pattern on the floor. Then father came into the room with a ruler in his hands. I'm going to beat you for this, he said. Oh, no, no, she screamed, hiding under the bedclothes. He pulled them aside. Sit up, he ordered, and hold your hands out. You must be taught once and for all not to touch what does not belong to you. But it was for your birthday? Down came the ruler on her little pink palms. Hours later, when grandmother had wrapped her in a shawl and rocked her in the rocking chair, the child clung to her soft body. What did God make fathers for? She sobbed. Here's a clean hanky, darling. Blow your nose. Go to sleep, pet. You'll forget all about it in the morning. I tried to explain to father, but he was too upset to listen tonight. But the child never forgot. Next time she saw him, he quickly put both the hands behind her back and a red color flew into her cheeks. So now what happened? Now she went to bed, but now father was really angry and he came to her room and he said, show me your hands, and he gave her a nice beating with the ruler. And she was very scared. She tried to explain him that it was not her fault, that she tried to make him a gift for the birthday, but he was in no mood of listening to any excuses, and he was so fed up with Kezia that he gave him a nice beating. Now, because of all of this, Kezia was traumatized and she was so scared of her father now, even more scared than she was before. And she says to her grandmother that why did God make fathers? Because he's so bad, he's beating me. So on this, grandmother says that no, my child, it's all right. You go to sleep, and tomorrow morning you'll forget everything, and everything will be all right. And I tried to talk to your father, but he was in no mood of listening. And as grandmother has said that everything will be all right the next morning, nothing of that sort happened. And Kezia was still so scared of her father that every time she would see her father, she would get scared, she would shiver, and she would hide her hands behind the back, because last time her father had beaten her with a ruler and had given beatings on her hands. All right, so now whenever she saw her father, her cheeks would flush with red color. Okay, now you must have experienced this. जब आपको किसी चीज़ से डर लगता है तो आपके गाल एकदम लाल हो जाते हैं और गर्म हो जाते हैं. तो सेम चीज़ कीजिया को अपने फादर को देख के होती थी. All right, now let's read the next paragraph. The McDonalds lived next door. They had 5 children. Looking through a gap in the fence, the little girl saw them playing tag in the evening. The father with the baby Mao on his shoulders, 2 little girls hanging onto his coat pockets, ran out and round the flower beds, shaking with laughter. Once she saw the boys turn the hose on him, and he tried to catch them laughing all the time. Then it was she decided that there were different sorts of fathers. Suddenly, one day, Mother Beams became ill, and she and grandmother went to hospital, and the little girl was left alone in the house with Alice, the cook. That was all right in the daytime. So now, what happens? Everything is going the same way now. Kezia thinks that all the fathers of this world are bad, but one day, what she sees that her neighbor next door, in the garden, Kezia is in her garden, and from the fence, Kezia peeps and sees that the neighbor next door, Mr. McDonald's, has 5 children, and he's playing with all his 5 children. He has a baby on his shoulders, 2 little girls hanging onto his pockets, and he's playing, and the boys are playing with a water pipe, and they are wetting their father, and they're playing all sorts of things with the father. And the father is so happy and is always playing with the children. Now Kezia decides that no, it's not that all the fathers of this world are bad, but it's particularly my father who is bad. Okay, now all this is happening, and In between all this, one day suddenly Kiza's mother suddenly is ill and she is admitted to the hospital, and Kiza's grandmother also had to go to the hospital. Now everything is fine until the daytime. Now let's see what happens in the night. All right. But while Alice was putting her to bed, she grew suddenly afraid. Now, what happens in the night? In the daytime, everything was okay, but in the night, now Alice, the cook of the house, now she took care of Kezia the entire day. But now at night, now Kezia has to sleep alone. Okay, now the cook is putting Kezia into bed, and now Kezia, like all the other children of this world, now she is very scared to sleep alone. All right, what what I'll do if I have a nightmare, she asked. I often have nightmares and then Granny takes me to her bed. I can't stay in the dark. It all gets whispery. You just go to sleep, child, said Alice, pulling off her socks. And don't you scream and wake your poor pa. Now, Kezia is saying that I might get scared, and whenever I get scared at night, my grandmother takes me to her room, and I feel very comfortable there with my grandmother. But now I cannot sleep alone. The Alice, the cook, now says ki nothing of that sort will happen. You just go to sleep. Everything will be all right. And she pulls off her socks and she says, "Do not scream. Whatever happens, do not scream and wake up your poor father." Okay. But the same old nightmare came. The butcher with a knife and a rope, who came nearer and nearer, smiling that dreadful smile, while she could not move, could not only stand still, crying out, "Grandma, Grandma!" She woke up shivering to see father beside her bed and a candle in his hand. "What's the matter?" he said. "Oh, a butcher, a knife. I want Granny." He blew out the candle, bent down, and caught up the child in his arms, carrying her along the passage to the big bedroom. A newspaper was on the bed. He put away the newspaper, then carefully tucked up the child. He lay down beside her, half asleep still, with the butcher's smile all about her, it seemed. She crept close to him, snuggled her head under his arm, held tightly to his shirt. Then the dark did not matter. She lay still. "Here, rub your feet against my legs and get them warm," said father. Now, what happened now? Kezia is sleeping alone. Alice, the cook, has put her to sleep. Now Kezia has gone to sleep. But again, that scary dream, that very horrific dream comes to Kezia again. And in that dream, Kezia sees that a butcher is coming and going to kill her. Okay, now she gets all scared, and in her dreams only she starts screaming, "Grandma, Grandma." Okay, now her father must have heard her screaming and comes to her and asks her what's the matter, and he has a candle in his hand. So Kezia says that there is a butcher, he has a knife and everything, whatever, and I want Grandma. So her father understands that she might have had a bad dream and all, so he takes her into his arms and takes her to his own room. So there in his bedroom, he in on the bed he has a newspaper. So he keeps aside the newspaper, he lays Kezia, and now Kezia lays next to her father, and Kezia is now feeling very comfortable. She's not scared anymore. All right. And he says, "Here, rub your feet to my feet and you will feel warm." It must be cold winters, so it must be really chilly. So her father suggests that rub your feet to mine. Tired out, he slept before the little girl. A funny feeling came over. Poor father, not so big, after all, and with no one to look after him. He was harder than grandmother, but it was a nice hardness, and every day he had to work and was too tired to be Mr. McDonald. She had torn up all his beautiful writing. She stirred suddenly and sighed. "What's the matter?" asked the father. "Another dream?" "Oh," said the little girl, "my head's on your heart. I can hear it going. What a big heart you've got, father dear." So now Kezia is feeling so comfortable next to her father, and now she has been thinking that her father is so bad and he's so cruel. But now Kezia realizes that no, my father loves me a lot, and see, he came to me when I had a bad dream. Now as she lays next to her father, and she feels so comfortable, and she realizes that my father is actually a very good person, and he works so hard day and night that he does not have time to become playful as Mr. McDonald, but he really loves me. and she's thinking all this, and she has a head on her father's heart. So when she's thinking everything about what she has done, and she thinks that she realizes a mistake, that she has actually ruined her father's all hard work. He had written something so beautiful, and she had torn it apart, and it was a mistake. And she thinks all this, and she gets the shivers, the bad feeling. So achanak se she gets teared up, and her father asks, what's the matter? Do you have did you have another bad dream? So she says, no father, I have my head on your heart, and I can listen to your heart beating, and I realize that you have such a big heart, my father dear. So basically, in the end of the story, the child realizes that her father is not actually a bad person. He is a very good person, but he's not like the other fathers. He's a little strict, and he cannot play like Mr. McDonald's and everything. But at the end of the day, a father is always there to protect his or his child. So this is the moral of the story, that whatever happens, eventually, maybe sometimes your father is strict, but eventually, whenever it comes to your safety, your father is always going to be there. Okay, children, so with that, we finish our story, and I hope you have understood the story and you have liked it. If you have any doubts, ask me personally. And this is the last part. With this, we finish our story. If you have any doubts, you can write in the comment section also. Thank you for watching.